So, have you queued up for the bottom lane recently? Yeah, if you have, you know exactly the kind of excruciating pain we're talking about today. You load into the game, the minions spawn, and poof, your support just completely vanishes. Suddenly, you're entirely alone, staring down a mage who is more than ready to one-shot you straight back to the fountain. Marksman means we know you've been screaming into the void on Reddit for months about this. You felt abandoned, totally underpowered, and honestly just out of place in your own lane. Well, welcome to today's explainer, because we are unpacking patch 26.16. And let me tell you, this isn't just a standard list of minor tweaks. There is a massive, fundamental change hiding in this update, and it just quietly rewrote the rules of bot lane. The big question on absolutely everyone's mind looking at this update is simple. Is bot lane actually finally fixed? Is this the long-awaited redemption arc that marksman mains have been desperately begging for? After seasons of the bot lane really not feeling like the bot lane anymore, it looks like Riot has finally listened. Today we're going to look at the exact systems they tweaked, the specific numbers they shifted, and figure out if the biggest bot lane shakeup in years actually pulls it off.
All right, let's dive right into this. We're going to start with the bot lane crisis itself. Break down Riot's three-part fix, specifically how they are nerfing roams and buffing ADC survival, and then we'll zoom out to look at the new meta horizon. Part 1, the bot lane crisis heading into MSI 2026. Okay, to understand the cure, we first have to understand the disease. Simply put, the bot lane ecosystem had just completely collapsed. Supports had basically figured out how to entirely bypass the anti-roaming systems from an earlier patch. Instead of sticking around to protect their vulnerable lane partner, they were turning into de facto second junglers, leaving their ADCs completely out to dry. And heading into MSI 2026, the data was wild. Mage champions were making up roughly 20% of all bot lane picks. 1/5. That is way higher than Riot ever intended. Champions like Brand, Swain, Ziggs, Veigar, Seraphine, and Xerath were just dominating the lane because, frankly, they didn't need traditional ADC mechanics. They could just step up, dump their spells, and walk away, leaving traditional marksmen totally defenseless against the burst.
And the developers absolutely knew what was happening. Riot's own lead gameplay designer admitted the quiet part out loud, calling it a full meta shift away from what bot lane was designed to be. This wasn't just a tiny imbalance, it was a fundamental design failure that required a massive intervention.
Which brings us to Part 2, Riot's three-part fix, rewriting the rules.
Patch 2016 is not just a band-aid slapped onto a single champion's stats, it's a comprehensive, multi-layered intervention built on three core pillars. First, roaming supports are being actively punished for abandoning their lane. Second, ADC survivability is getting a much-needed buff. And third, bruiser and mage items are getting a massive rebalance across the board. Let's actually break these down one by one to see how they work together to save the lane. Part 3. Nerfing the roaming support by shifting the economy.
So, how do you stop supports from abandoning the lane the absolute second minion spawn without completely killing strategic roaming? Well, you hit their wallet. In the old economy, a roaming support could easily sustain their gold income through champion takedowns and tower plating across the map. But in the new economy, gold generation heavily shifts toward lane minions. If a support dips out early now, they are sacrificing real, tangible economy. Riot isn't trying to completely kill the idea of roaming, they just want to stop it from being the obvious, zero-risk default choice in every single game. Let's move to Part 4, the ADC Survival Kit for surviving the first 5 minutes.
Keeping supports in lane is great, but traditional marksmen still needed the actual mechanical tools to survive those brutal early trades against high-damage mages. Enter the Survival Kit. To help out, ADCs are receiving critical early magic resistance boosts. On top of that, core systems like Berserker's Greaves, Fleet Footwork, and Runon's Hurricane are all getting bumped up. The goal here is incredibly straightforward. It's not about making ADCs these invincible late-game gods right out of the gate. It's simply about letting them actually survive the laning phase against mages, instead of getting completely deleted before the 5-minute mark.
And finally, Part 5, the new meta horizon, focusing on broader game adjustments.
A patch this massive doesn't just happen in a vacuum. Changing the bot lane economy and survivability ripples across the entire map. So, to keep things in check, heavy hitters like Sundered Sky, Eclipse, Black Cleaver, and Sterex Gauge are all catching nerfs, alongside pro-play targets like Poppy, Camille, and Belveth. On the flip side, Kennen, Gwen, and Azir are actually picking up some buffs. The stated goal here is clear. Mages should still be a totally viable pick in the bot lane, but they can no longer be the mathematically superior default choice they had become.
So what should you take away from all of this based on your role? Well, for ADC mains, take a deep breath. Your survivability just went up. This is probably the best patch you've seen in a very long time. Your early lane presence is bolstered, and crucially, your support is finally financially motivated to actually stay by your side and help you out.
Now, if you're a support main, the message is pretty loud and clear. Roam at your own risk. Expect your typical roaming patterns to feel substantially riskier for your gold income. Roaming is definitely not dead, but treating the early game like free real estate to go terrorize the rest of the map is officially over. You're going to need to carefully pick your moments.
And hey, we can't forget the junglers. If you main jungle, pay very close attention to this. Riot is actively tweaking jungle pets to open the door for more AP and tank junglers. This strongly signals that the current 80 fighter-dominated meta we've all been living in might not last much longer. The shift is already happening in pro play, so you should expect it to trickle down into your ranked games over the next week or two as the meta really stabilizes.
Which leaves us with one final massive question to close out this explainer. Is this the permanent fix that bot lane actually desperately needed, or is this just another temporary band-aid before the next inevitable mage buff cycle? Honestly, these changes look absolutely incredible on paper, completely rewriting the economy and survival rules of the early game. But how it plays out in your actual ranked climb is what truly matters. We want to know what you think. How are these changes feeling in your matches right now? Keep analyzing, keep adapting, and we'll see you in the next explainer.